First contact. The vastness of space stretched before Captain Lyra Chen as she stood on the bridge of the ESS Horizon, Earth's most advanced deep space exploration vessel. Stars twinkled in the distance, each a potential harbor for undiscovered life. Lyra's heart raced with anticipation. After years of searching, they were about to make history. Captain, we're picking up unusual energy signatures from the third planet in this system, reported Science Officer Raj Patel, his eyes fixed on the holographic display before him. Lyra leaned forward, her dark eyes glinting with curiosity. Can you identify the source? Raj shook his head, his brow furrowed in concentration. Negative, Captain. It's unlike anything in our database, but it's definitely artificial. A hush fell over the bridge crew as the implications sank in. They had found it. Proof of extraterrestrial intelligence. Take us into orbit, Lyra commanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins, and prepare a first contact team. As the horizon approached the azure planet, swirling with violet clouds, the crew's excitement was palpable. Years of training had prepared them for this moment, but nothing could truly ready them for the reality of meeting an alien species. The landing shuttle pierced through the atmosphere, revealing a landscape of towering crystal structures and bioluminescent flora. At the center of a vast clearing stood what appeared to be a welcoming committee, tall, graceful beings with iridescent skin and large, almond-shaped eyes. Lyra led her team out of the shuttle, her heart pounding. She raised her hand in a gesture of peace, praying that the universal translator would do its job. "We come in peace," she began, her words echoing across the clearing. The tallest of the aliens stepped forward, its skin shimmering with patterns of light. When it spoke, the translator crackled to life. "Welcome, travelers from beyond. We are the Zarkin. Your arrival fulfills an ancient prophecy." Lyra blinked in surprise. A prophecy. That wasn't in any first contact scenario they had trained for. As the diplomatic exchange progressed, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The Zarkin seemed overly interested in the humans' biology, asking probing questions about their reproductive cycles and genetic diversity. It wasn't until the third day of negotiations that the true nature of the Zarkin's interest became clear. During a formal dinner, one of the alien dignitaries approached Lieutenant Marco Reyes, the team's xenobiologist. Its skin pulsed with vibrant colors as it leaned in close, inhaling deeply. Marco froze, unsure of how to react to this invasion of personal space. Suddenly, the Zarkin's eyes widened, and it let out a sound that could only be described as a purr. "You," it breathed, its voice trembling with what sounded like desire. "You are the one, the catalyst, the key to our survival." Before anyone could react, chaos erupted. The Zarkin lunged at Marco, its body seemingly liquefying as it attempted to envelop him. Other aliens surged forward, their usual grace replaced by frenzied movement. "Back to the shuttle," Lyra shouted, drawing her phaser. She fired a warning shot into the air, the energy blast momentarily stunning the Zarkin. The team ran, half-dragging a shell-shocked Marco with them. As they reached the shuttle, a piercing wail filled the air. The crystal structures around them began to resonate, sending waves of disorienting energy washing over the humans. Lyra's vision swam as she stumbled into the shuttle. She could hear the pounding of Zarkin fists against the hull as they lifted off, desperate to keep their catalyst from escaping. As the shuttle broke atmosphere, Lyra slumped into her seat, her mind reeling. What had just happened? What did the Zarkin want with Marco? And most importantly, how were they going to salvage this first contact gone horribly wrong? Little did she know, this was only the beginning of a crisis that would challenge everything humanity thought they knew about the universe and themselves. The biological imperative. Back aboard the ESS Horizon, the atmosphere was tense. Captain Lyra Chen paced the conference room, her usual calm demeanor shaken by the events on the planet's surface. Around the table sat her senior staff, each looking as bewildered as she felt. "All right, Let's break this down, Lara said, forcing herself to focus. What exactly happened down there? Lieutenant Marco Reyes, still visibly shaken, spoke up. Captain, I think I might have triggered some kind of mating response in the Tsar kin. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the room. Science Officer Raj Patel leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. Can you elaborate, Marco? Marco ran a hand through his hair, his face flushed with embarrassment. When that Tsarkin got close to me, I felt something, like a connection, and then it was like a switch flipped. They all went crazy. Dr. Amelia Foster, the ship's chief medical officer, tapped her datapad thoughtfully. I've been analyzing the biological samples we collected. The Tsarkin have an incredibly complex endocrine system. It's possible they release pheromones that we can't consciously detect, but that our bodies still respond to. Lyra frowned. Are you saying we're biologically compatible with the Tsarkin? How is that even possible? Not exactly compatible, Amelia clarified, but there's definitely some kind of chemical interaction happening. Marco's unique genetic makeup might have triggered a response in their reproductive cycle. As if on cue, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the planet, reported Communications Officer Zara Wong. Lara took a deep breath, steeling herself. Put it through. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the face of the Tsarkin leader. Its skin rippled with patterns of agitation, but its voice remained eerily calm. Humans of the ESS Horizon, it began, we apologize for the misunderstanding during our previous encounter. We request that you return to our world immediately. The one you call Marco Reyes is vital to the survival of our species. Lyra's eyes narrowed. I'm afraid I can't do that. Lieutenant Reyes is under my protection, and we don't fully understand what's happening here. The Tsarkin's eyes flashed with an emotion Lyra couldn't quite identify. You don't understand. Our species is dying. We've been unable to reproduce for generations. But your Marco, he carries within him the key to our salvation. His genetic material, combined with ours, could restart our evolutionary process. A heavy silence fell over the conference room. The implications were staggering. Marco shifted uncomfortably in his seat, looking pale. We need time to consider this, Lyra said carefully. We'll be in touch. As the transmission ended, the room erupted into heated discussion. The ethical implications were enormous. Could they justify using Marco's DNA to save an entire species? What were the potential consequences for both humanity and the Tsarkin? Marco stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. I need some air, he mumbled, stumbling out of the room. Lyra watched him go, concern etched on her face. She turned to Dr. Foster. Amelia, keep a close eye on him. We don't know what kind of effect this connection might be having on his physiology. As the meeting adjourned, Lyra retreated to her ready room, her mind racing. She had to make a decision, and soon. The fate of two species hung in the balance. Hours passed as Lyra pored over reports, consulted with her crew, and wrestled with her conscience. Just as she was about to call for another staff meeting, an urgent alert blared through the ship. Medical emergency in Lieutenant Reyes' quarters. Dr. Foster's voice rang out over the comm system. Lyra sprinted through the corridors, her heart pounding. When she arrived at Marco's quarters, she found him writhing on the floor, his skin glistening with sweat. Dr. Foster looked up from her medical scanner, her face grave. Captain, his body chemistry is going haywire. It's like his cells are trying to evolve. I've never seen anything like it. Marco's eyes flew open, glowing with an otherworldly light. When he spoke, his voice was a mixture of pain and wonder. Captain, I can feel them. The Tsarkin, they're calling to me. We have to go back. Lyra felt the weight of command pressing down on her shoulders. She had to make a choice, risk Marco's life and potentially alter the course of human evolution, or condemn an entire alien species to extinction. As Marco's condition deteriorated and the Zarkin grew more desperate, Lara realized that the universe had just become a much more complex place than anyone on Earth had ever imagined. The line between diplomacy and biology had blurred, and the consequences of their next move would echo across the stars. With a heavy heart and a mind full of uncertainty, Lara made her decision. Helm, set a course back to the Zarkin homeworld. Whatever happens next, we face it together. As the ESS Horizon turned back towards the Azure planet, Lara couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something that would change the fate of two species forever. Evolution and understanding. The ESS Horizon descended through the violet clouds of the Zarkin homeworld, tension thick in the air. On the bridge, Captain Lara Chen gripped the arms of her chair, her knuckles white. Beside her, Lieutenant Marco Reyes trembled, his skin glowing with an ethereal light. "Life signs?" Lara asked, her voice tight. Science Officer Raj Patel frowned at his console. "Massive gatherings near our previous landing site, Captain. It looks like the entire Zarkin population might be there." As the ship touched down, Lara turned to her crew. "Remember, we're here to find a solution, not start a war. Stay alert, but do not engage unless absolutely necessary." The moment the shuttle doors opened, they were engulfed in a sea of shimmering Zarkin bodies. The aliens' skin pulsed with anticipation, their eyes fixed on Marco. The Zarkin leader stepped forward, its voice reverent. "You have returned. The prophecy unfolds." Marco stumbled forward, drawn by an unseen force. I can feel it. The connection, it's overwhelming." Dr. Amelia Foster rushed to his side, medical scanner whirring. "His cellular structure is changing rapidly. We need to act fast." Suddenly, Marco collapsed, his body convulsing. The Zarkin surged forward, but Lara's security team formed a protective circle. "What's happening to him?" Lara demanded. The Zarkin leader's skin rippled with complex patterns. "The merging begins. He will be the bridge between our species, the key to our mutual evolution." As Marco's body began to glow brighter, tendrils of energy oozed from him to the surrounding Zarkin. The aliens began to change, their forms shifting and mutating. Lara watched in awe and horror as both Marco and the Zarkin transformed. Hours passed in a blur of light and impossible biology. When it was over, Marco stood changed. His skin now shimmered like the Zarkin, but he retained his human form. The Zarkin, too, had evolved, their bodies now a perfect blend of their original form and human characteristics. Marco opened his eyes, now swirling with galaxies. When he spoke, his voice echoed with ancient wisdom. "Captain, I understand now. This was always meant to happen. Humanity and the Zarkin were two halves of the same cosmic equation." The Zarkin leader stepped forward, its form now more humanoid. "Our isolation nearly destroyed us, but together, our species can achieve wonders beyond imagination." Lara's mind reeled at the implications. This changes everything. Our understanding of evolution, of life itself. In the days that followed, humans and Zarkin worked together to unravel the mysteries of their shared destiny. They discovered that the universe was full of seemingly incompatible species, each holding a piece of the evolutionary puzzle. The ESS Horizon became a symbol of this new era of cooperation. With Marco as a liaison, they set out to explore the galaxy, seeking other species to join their cosmic dance of evolution. As Lara stood on the bridge, watching her transformed crew work seamlessly alongside the Zarkin, she realized that first contact had been just the beginning. They had stumbled upon a truth far greater than they could have imagined, that the diversity of life in the universe was not a barrier, but the very key to unlocking its greatest potential. The stars stretched out before them, each one holding the promise of new discoveries, new transformations, and new understandings. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, one where the boundaries between species were as fluid as the cosmic winds that carried them forward. As the ESS Horizon walked into the unknown, Lara couldn't help but smile. The journey ahead would be challenging, filled with wonders and dangers beyond imagination. But together, united in their diversity, they were ready to face whatever the universe had in store. The age of isolation was over. The era of cosmic evolution had begun.